Hello and welcome to Casual Buddhism. I'm your host, Cindy Rasicot, author of Finding Venerable Mother. And we're joined here every week, as we always are, with Venerable Dhammananda Pikani, Thailand's first fully ordained Theravada nun. And today we have a special guest, Booker, and she is someone that I met on a loving kindness retreat at Spirit Rock. And I was so moved by her that I got excited and asked her if she would join us on Casual Buddhism. So here's a little bit about Booker. She's a Buddhist meditation teacher, writer, and lover of liberation. She shared the practices of yoga and mindfulness with children who had been incarcerated in juvenile facilities and Rikers Island and other vulnerable populations in New York City for over a decade. The gifts from this work have allowed Booker to show up with a fierce heart to cultivate a space of belonging. She's co-author of Best Practices for Yoga in a Criminal Justice Setting, a contributor to Georgetown Law's report on gender and trauma. She is co-founder of the Yoga Service Council at Omega Institute and meditation working group of Occupy Wall Street. In 2020, she was invited to a Sojourner Truth Leadership Fellow through Auburn Seminary, graduated from Spirit Rock's 4-year retreat teacher training, and this is kind of amazing, was voted by her peers as one of the 12 powerful, probably most powerful women in the mindfulness movement. So welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for this invitation, Cindy. It's so great to see you, and I'm so excited to spend time with Venerable Dhammananda. It's such an honor for me to be with you and to spend some time together.
Yes. Yeah. Just to hear Booker's laughter, you cannot help. You cannot help but just feel very joyful, very joyful. I don't think you should have any problems.
Just in life in general?
So okay. Your life is so how to say, so joyful,
Yeah, it's the Dharma. The Dharma is really, when it's in your body, when it's the life that you live, you can't help but have joy.
Yes, Booker, tell me, how old were you when you actually came to Buddhism?
I was in my early 30s.
I see.
Yeah, so I wasn't very young and wasn't very old, but I had worked in the fashion industry in New York for a long time.
Wow.
And saw people that were really suffering. I was really interested in suffering. And so as I kept getting curious and asking more questions, I was led to yoga, and then at almost the same time also to the Buddhist teachings. And once I heard the Dhamma, that was it.
Yes.
That was it.
Yes, you realize that is the path for you.
That's the path. Yeah. I have a question for you.
Yes.
So even though this was the path, in the US, we're really focused on sitting meditation practice, of being very quiet, going into a beautiful environment, and just being quiet in our practice and not really engaging with other people. And I've heard, when I've studied abroad, it's always been on the continent of Africa, so I haven't studied in Asia yet. But I've heard that especially in Buddhist countries, that it's just the way that you live, that people are really engaged in the world and the community, and it's not a separation, it's more of an integration into your life. And so as a Westerner, I've tried to emulate that by taking my practice, off the cushion and out into the world, by really living the precepts, living these 10 perfections of heart and mind of the Paramis. And so I'm really curious, what do you find to be the most, maybe not the most, but a few of the practices that are really at the heart of how you move through the world and how you navigate the world? Is it one of the Paramis? A heart practice?
Yes. Yes. Okay. This practice of separating, sitting meditation, and then you go out it seems as though it's two worlds, you know. You meditate only when you sit on your cushion.
Yeah.
This is important for those who have not experienced meditation at all. So meditation does not mean that you have to be sitting on your cushion in the meditation room only. But when you experience, you know, for that quiet moment, in your quiet corner, when you experience that mind which is so subtle, when you come out to the outside world, you try to relive that particular moment of your mind when you actually meditate. We cannot simply be a good person only half an hour in 24 hours a day. You know, it seems as though, you know, you are a good person when you meditate. So are we going to say that we are a good person for half an hour in the total 24 hours a day? It is not so. But for those who have not experienced meditation at all, we have to ask them to be quiet. You know, they come for retreat here, they come for quiet retreats for 5 days. For 5 days, like that, you know, to put you away from your normal activities so that you are shifted to this new experience. And with this new experience of being anchored, your mind is anchored, at least sometimes only for 1 minute. But the whole thing, you know, you experience that only for 1 minute. But the fact that you have experienced that 1 minute, when the mind is anchored, the mind is calm, the mind is one-pointed, that is samadhi. Samadhi does not happen when you just sit there and grumbling and feeling disgusted with the flies all over you. No. Samadhi comes only when the mind is one-pointed. So when we come out, we try to relive that one-pointed mind, to realize that you can experience this one-pointed mind everywhere. And when you study Dharma, you understand that there is no I, me, my mind. This is the level of understanding at the head level. But you need to put this head level understanding into your consciousness, when you practice meditation. So we need to put two together. So when you come out, please do come out to Asia. Also, come out to Asia, you will find that in these countries, they also have the same misunderstanding. Thai people, in spite of the fact that we boast of 95% of the population are Buddhist, but also they would imagine that you train your mind during meditation period, that is half an hour or so, you know. But then when you come out, you get angry, just like before. You come out, you went for retreat for 5 days, you come out back home and you're still scolding your husbands just the way you did before. So the husband would be complaining, you know, no good at all, you know, this going for retreat. My wife comes back and she's worse, you know. So that is not a good propagation for Buddhism. So we have to experience that when we go out and have this quiet moment to ourselves, to realize that quality of mind is to be lengthen it when we come out. And when we experience difficulties in life, in real life, we realize that we need to come back, anchor our mind. When we are confronted with difficult situation, sometimes fighting, you know, verbal fighting, and when it is too much, have that mindfulness to tell you that you have to step out. If you cannot handle it, step out of that particular situation, so that you yourself can again gain that the balanced mind, in order to go back and face the difficulties now with the stable mind. Yes, we should not separate. But in the beginning, for beginners, Bukha, it is important that we need to separate. We need to have that sitting on the cushion.
So they know, they have the felt sense of what it looks like to have a sense of liberation, right? So they know that clarity, they know that the stillness of the mind. And so are there any particular teachings or practices that you find continue to support that? Is it moving through life with, you know, having equanimity as your anchor, moving through life with metta as your anchor? I'm wondering, you know, I love studying the Paramis. Is something that I've really been inspired by. These, these teachings that, that were the Buddha before he was born into the body of
Yes,
Siddhartha
yes.
Gautama, how he was born over and over and over again,
Yeah.
perfecting these things. So is there one aspect in there that you're like, that's the one that feels so alive, or that's the one that people really need to understand? And you spoke about having like that balanced mind. And so
Yes.
is it upekkha, or is it some other quality or a combination of them that you
You know,
find really?
when you talk about parami or perfections, there are the major 10 paramis, major 10, starting with giving, But how can you give when you're still thinking about you, and I? When they have that separation. So when we start loosening that wall, which separates you and I, then giving becomes easy, because you're not giving to yourself, you are giving to our community. I am not keeping it for myself, because if I myself, I am happy, I have plenty to eat, but the person sitting next to me doesn't have anything to eat, so we slowly, this giving comes with this removal of the partition between you and I, which is a basic teaching in Buddhism. But we tend to separate them, So this understanding, I am very angry with this person, and every time when I see his face, I could see the heat coming in me, But then you just realize that he does not want to be a bad person. Like, I also made mistake, I often made mistake. How come I forgive myself? How come he also is doing the same thing? So that the mistakes that he did is the same kind of mentality that I made my mistake. So when we understand this, we forgive him easily. And when we forgive him, what happened? Who gained the benefit of forgiving him? We gain the benefit, that rising of this heat, actually is, in the long run, it will destroy ourselves.
Yeah.
So when you start seeing this and forgiving him is actually giving yourself a chance to be peaceful. When you see the connection, when you see this correlation, yes, I also made the same mistake. Oh, indeed, I am also stupid at times, So you forgive him, you forgive them easier.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. And so I find it so hard for people to take down that barrier. I mean, even for myself in my own personal practice, I find myself slipping into they and I and that separation.
Yes.
So what is it that can remind us that we belong to each other? What is
Yes.
it
Oh,
that can
yeah.
support us in moving through the world each day and saying there is no separation?
Yes, Booker, as we breathe, we are breathing. My breathing in, and then I breathe out. My breathing out is your breathing in. Oh, so we are connected from the very beginning, but we have this illusion, Maya. We have this illusion to say, "Oh, it's Booker. That's Booker's business, not my business." We have this separation, but in fact, from the very beginning, we are breathing the same mass of air. That's why we have to take care of the air. We have to see that we have to lessen the pollution. Like that, then we start seeing things in a global and realistic way. Now come back to your breathing.
I
Come back to
know.
your breathing. That is easy, Easy reminder. Very easy reminder.
Yeah. And, I think of the trees, like I'm going to forget this now, but they let out carbon dioxide and then we breathe it back in. So when we look at,
yes.
Is that right? I think that's right. I think that's the right science.
The other way.
We breathe out carbon dioxide, which they take in. We breathe in oxygen. That's what we do.
Yes. You
um,
see,
yeah, science is not my forte, but
yeah,
but that's
you get to see the understanding, no?
yeah,
So
yeah,
like that, we are so depending on each other. You
yeah,
imagine I come in, the three of us here. Oh, actually, we are the fourth one. Because you see, show your face. There's another one here sitting with me. Now, among the four of us, imagine, Booker. I come in and I look very grouchy. I am already creating what you call it, vibration that
yeah,
affects all of us. Yes,
yeah,
simply because I have this grouchy face, it affects everyone. I
yeah,
am not saying a word yet, just my expression. Do you see how we are uh, influenced, reacting
yeah.
reacting to each other, influencing each other simply
Hmm.
by the way we are.
Yeah.
I always have a stern face, in my temple. And when I walk, they get scared. I didn't do anything. I said, my gosh, I have not done anything yet. They said, oh, just the way, Venerable Mother, oh, just the way you look. So, so you see that how we have to be responsible for the world,
Yeah,
simply the way you are.
absolutely. Yeah, we're so interconnected, and even when we don't realize, um, everything that we do, we say, we think, it really ripples out to others, whether we're conscious of it or not.
Mm.
And so not knowing who's around us, who's going to witness
Yes,
us, who's going to, yeah, to hear us, it's important that we keep that sila, that this ethics, to remember that we belong to each other and to really take care of each other.
yes,
Yeah. And it's
yes.
such a beautiful, when you're speaking about, the breath, that I was thinking about trees, it just reminded me of how we can learn so much from nature.
Yes,
Nature's already doing it. Yeah.
yes. And nature has been giving us so much. It's about time we think of giving something back.
Yeah. 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 Whew. And so I believe in your activism. You're really engaged in cleaning things up, getting rid of
I'm,
garbage and
I,
pollution and
yes, Booker, I'm still cleaning myself.
we got to start with ourselves first, right? Yeah, yeah. Um,
Yes,
Well,
mm,
yes. Cindy, we see that Booker has this contagious laughter.
yes, she has a wonderful
Yes.
laughter. And the only thing I wanted to add, and I don't know, Venerable, how you feel about this, but I'll say earlier, Booker was asking, was there one orientation, I guess you could say, that you have? And when I've often heard you say to describe Buddhism in one word is the heart and the loving kindness. I feel that so much from you that I can't help but saying that to me, that is something that you do. I don't know whether that's a
Yeah,
conscious.
it's our responsibility, to speak the message of Buddhism through our own action, through our being, yeah, through our
Yes,
being.
yes.
yeah.
So I think this will draw to a close our time. I thank you both so much for a beautiful conversation, and it was very special. So thank you. And I look forward to seeing you again, Booker, and I look forward, Venerable, to seeing you in December.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Thank you both very much.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.